Good evening, everyone. At this time, I will call this City Commission meeting to order for August 12th. Shall we stand, please? And we're going to have Mr. Andrew Miller do an invocation for us, and we will follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, we just say thank you for letting us gather here together, God. God, that you give us wisdom and understanding, God, and knowledge, God, that'll help us, God, further advance, God, this city, God. We say thank you for letting us, God, be here, covering us and keeping us in good health. And we ask that you continue to do just that. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Stone, we have roll call, please.
Mayor Haynes.
Here.
Vice Mayor Jones.
Here.
Commissioner Ambrose.
Here.
Commissioner Jameson.
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
Thank you. All right, agenda approval, changes.
I move that we approve the agenda for tonight as printed.
I'll second it.
All right, it has been properly moved and seconded that the agenda be approved as printed. All those in favor respond with aye, please.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Agenda approved 5-0. Approval of the minutes.
I move that we approve July 22nd, 2021 commission meeting minutes.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded that the minutes from July the 22nd be approved as documented. All those in favor respond with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries 5-0. All right, at this time, we will have citizens' requests and comments for issues that are not on the agenda. And please state your name for the record and limit your comments to 5 minutes. Please.
Madam Mayor will remind anyone that's participating on Zoom, if they'd like to speak to the commission virtually, to use the raise your hand function at Zoom. I see no hands at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right, with that, we will move into new business. Item number 1, discuss, consider, and act on approval of purchasing agreement for the purchase of the canoe outfits.
Madam Mayor, there is a document on the dais in front of each of you, which is amendments that have been made to the purchase and sale agreement. I know some of you have been through this document very intensely and had some comments on it. Commissioner Ambrose had a number of, I think, very constructive comments. And Clay Martin is an attorney in our office that does a lot of our real estate closings. And he's taken into consideration all of Commissioner Ambrose's email comments, which were detailed, and other comments that have been made by staff. And we have those red lines. I apologize getting the red line version to you just before the meeting, but I've gone through all of the red line comments, and I believe that the amendments are in keeping with the intent of the parties, and it tightens up the document as to the purchase and sale. I will tell you that the Wood family has been real easy to deal with. Gary Grunder is representing them, and I've known Gary for many, many, many years, and he's doing a good job on that side. So I don't think there is a lot of consternation over any of this, and we should proceed to closing. I talked with Bruce just a little bit before the meeting started. City staff, manager's office is working with PFM financing group to get the best financing we can for the money that we'll have to borrow in order to make this happen. And so that's underway. If that can happen, the quicker that can happen is the quicker we can go ahead and get this closed. The date for closing is end of October. October 30th, I think, is what it specifies in the agreement. But we anticipate that we'll be able to close it more quickly than that if possible, and if we can get the financing done and that part of it. It should not be a heavy lift to get that knocked out either. As you will recollect, Madam Mayor, there is an amount of money that we're receiving from the trust. Tom Kay is in the office, in the chambers here this evening. And again, all the parties are working hard to make this situation work. Tom's easy to deal with as well. You have attached to the document the trust, Electric Conservation Trust, the easement that we will be providing them. Some of the commentary that Ross had was, look, we need to make sure that we can do the improvements on the, what if the ADA comes in and says you have to widen the walk or do some structural things to the facilities there. We want to have the latitude to be sure and do those things and continue the operation of the kayaks and the canoes and all that sort of thing. And Tom's responded, that's no problem. We can get that done very easily. So I think you've seen the red line version. I'm going to go over it just real quickly. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over that. For one reason, I don't want you all to go to sleep on me doing all that legalese. You can put this next to your bedstand tonight. And if you want to go to bed, go to sleep real quickly. That's a good way to go to sleep. Page 1 of 34 is just referencing that there are some items in the dwelling unit that is being conveyed to us, and there's more specified in the attachment to the document. The next change was on page 4. And again, it specifies more particularly that those assets are set forth in Exhibit B2, which is basically there's two lists of assets. One is all of the items that are being transferred, the canoes, the kayaks, the equipment, the name of the business, the website to drive business to that facility, things like that. Again, that was a comment that Ross had. Which is very, very good for marketing purposes. We want the website and the intellectual property that goes along with this business. And so the document was amended in that vein. And also we want the personal property that is contained in the dwelling unit that's on site. And so this was amendment to specify those items. The consulting agreement is when the property changes hands, we may need to go to Mr. Wood and say, hey, what about this particular item of you've run this business for a very long time, and there's going to be informational things we need to have in order to have that information as once we become the owners of the property. And my understanding is, and likelihood is, that Damon is going to set this out for an RFP. We can work on that as we're getting ready for closing, and perhaps have that in a fairly seamless manner as well. Once it's time for this facility to be taken over by the city of High Springs. But even if that all happens very seamlessly, it'll be nice to have Mr. Wood there to say, okay, this is how you do this, or this is how this piece of the business is operated. So that's what the consulting agreement is all about. That's what that's intended to. We specify that the conservation easement is in form in the attachment to the document, but we may need to do some further negotiating. You see that on page 5 with the trust. Again, Tom is, on behalf of the trust, is amenable. We all are. Our oars are all going in the same direction on this particular deal, which is very gratifying in a transaction when things are going in that direction. So that's how it is proceeding amongst staff. Tom, the city, and the seller, the Woods. October 29th, 2021 is our closing date. That could get moved up and likely will be moved up. The only stickler on that is getting the financing, which is set forth in the agreement. Can't be more than, I believe, it's 4% for a 30-year term, not longer than an amortization for a 30-year term. The rest of the language is very legalese and very standard in any type of agreement like this. If things go sideways, then the deposit that is on the purchaser could take the deposit, and then he has no further action. If for some reason that we can't go forward in this sales transaction, then we would, our remedy is specific performance. The prevailing party is entitled to attorney's fees. But in this transaction, the way things are proceeding, we're not going to have to worry about those things. You have to have that information in the contract. The likelihood of something like that happening, in my view, is very, very, very minimal, given the desires of the party to move forward. But again, all of that is very standard language. We have a legal description was Exhibit A. Schedule of assets, again, we added in the apartment items and got all that done, including the tools and that sort of thing to operate the business. And the one thing that the Woods asked is, look, we've got some personal information on our computers, like many of us probably have bank account and personal bank, and we said, we don't need your computers, that's not necessary. And he didn't want to have to go through and wipe the hard drives and that sort of thing. So that's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. As you know, Madam Mayor, we're getting a very good price on this. The seller desires to keep this in the public use, and so certainly giving up computers is not a big deal. Warranty deed, Clay's done a very good job. I think yeoman's job in preparing all this. I went over it and I thought, Clay, I'm really impressed with you. You did a fantastic job here. And I like the warranty deed. He's got that already put together, the conservation easement. I didn't ask him, but I assumed that came from Tom. But we've gone over all that, and as we specified in there, if we need to tweak that at all, we'll tweak it. I've gone through it. It does give the trust a lot of rights, and rightly so. We don't pay the taxes on the property, which of course we're a public entity. We may very well need to pay taxes because we're in a operating, is it a public use, private use? We'll have to sort that out down the road, but it would give them the right to force us to pay the taxes. Things like that are certainly reasonable on behalf of the trust, so their investment is not lost down the road. So the easement is at least in substantially similar form as to how it will be when it is finalized. And I'm going to ask, the consulting agreement is also attached. Again, it says very standard. We pay $1 to Jim Wood for him to consult. It doesn't put a whole lot on him. He's got to be available to us. I think it said 12 hours a week is what the time is. So it's not a tremendous thing for the next 30 days after closing. I'm going to ask Tom to come up, and it seems to me like Tom told us a long time ago when we first started about this, talking about this, that there may be additional funding that may come through the trust as well, which we'll certainly be very interested in. But I think it's in format and form that is acceptable to the legal staff, so we've approved it. It's acceptable to management staff. We had a Zoom meeting this afternoon and went over it for one last time. So city staff has looked at it. I know you commissioners have looked at it, except for these minor changes that we've made. Damon's looked it over, and so I think we're ready to go with it. When the appropriate time is here, the motion will be to authorize the mayor and the appropriate city officials, or clerk, of course, Angela can sign off on it this evening for the clerk's office, to enter into the quadri-party agreement for the purchase and sale of the conservation easement, real property, and business assets between the city of High Springs, James A. and Sarah Jane Wood, and the Canoe Outpost of High Springs LLC, and the Alachua County Conservation Trust Incorporated. So with that, Mr. Mayor, Madam Mayor, that'll be the motion. And if there's any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. Or if Tom has any further comment, then certainly we can address that. I know Mr. Grunder's on vacation, so good for him. So I don't think we have any questions on the part of the sellers.
All right. Come
Good evening.
Good
Madam
evening.
Mayor and council members. Appreciate you having us up here tonight and taking up this matter. And I think what Mr. Walker shared with you all is absolutely accurate. I mean, this has been one of the easier deals actually to work with because all the parties are aligned in what we're trying to achieve, and trying to protect this property, and ensure it's continue to have public access for the public, and I think kind of setting a tone for where City of High Springs wants to be going as far as how we're drawing residents and visitors to this community to use the resources that we have here that are so abundant. And I would second also what Scott said about Commissioner Ambrose's comments. I think they were very good and were appropriate given what was going on in the contract and stuff like that. I think we've made changes to that, and we're obviously open to making additional changes in the conservation easement as we see fit to make sure it works for the city of High Springs and parks and everyone else that has to deal with that going into the future. And I think Mr. Walker, let me just mention again, there is funding sources. We talked about those, I think, the last time I was present here. One of them, of course, is the Florida Communities Trust. That may help with the cost of the acquisition itself. That's state funds through the Florida Forever program. It didn't have funding this year, but it has funding within 2 years from the time we close on this acquisition. You can actually, it's a reimbursement grant. So we'd have about 2 years. So if there's funding in 22 or in 23, that's a grant that could be applied for. And to be competitive, it's about a 1-to-1 match. And so say the deal's roughly $600,000, you could go to the state and ask for as much as $300,000 and be very competitive. And I think it would be very competitive because of all the amenities, how close it is to the city, being on the water, that would be a project that would score very well. Would certainly be willing to help and assist with that grant if that funding source becomes available. The other one's the Ferdav Grant, another state grant. I know that's one that the city's familiar with. It's applied for those funding in the past for, I think, the ballparks and some of the other parks here. You can have up to 3 projects with that going at any one time through that state funding source for recreational development, and you can have 2 in one cycle. And again, that's one of those things where you can get up to, I believe it's capped at $50,000 a project, and there is a match component to that. But that could help with improvements at the park. And then the third one that sort of just came onto our radar, the federal government has had is through the CARES Act, and I don't know which relief bill it is now that we're on, but there is actually $240 million in a grant funding source specifically for tourism and recreational development, because those industries have been particularly hit hard during the pandemic. And so that's a rolling grant. I talked with Dave, from the city just about a week and a half ago about that. That's one to probably look at. Again, it's for making improvements at the thing. So some of the things we're talking about doing, making improvements, whether it's making boardwalks ADA accessible or improving bathrooms or creating new bathrooms, or other improvements that might need to be made on the site. That's a funding source that's potentially available. I think we'd be very competitive on that front as well for applying for those funds. So, I think we help in any way we can to ensure that this is a positive project for the community. And again, we're just grateful to the Woods for, I think you all are, for making this possible and providing this at a reasonable price and with all the equipment and assistance along the way, and Sally's as well. Happy to take any questions if anyone has them. Taking it easy on me. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Mayor, I think this is a great opportunity for the city. I don't think there's any reason not to move forward, and everybody is in alignment. My things are with the transition process as we go through our due diligence period here, that the city staff really work out, what happens when there's a closing. Because when Mr. Wood will be available for consulting, the day-to-day operations are going to be up to some human beings that we don't currently employ. So if they're going to become employees temporarily, or if the RFP is going to be done by then, what really is the transition process? Because, as the city being the owner, our liability is going to change, just because it's the city. So I just want to make sure that the day after closing, when we own the van and someone's driving it, that's driven it safely for years, potentially, and a deer runs out in front of the van, they apply the brakes and somebody bumps their head, because the title's now the city of High Springs, and we incurred some liability we didn't expect. So if the plan is to have an RFP in place, or you can really map that out, and I would assume we'll need a budget item for the outpost in our coming budget. As long as all that's in process, then I think it's a great opportunity to move forward.
Yes, Madam Mayor, there's several alternatives that we are looking into, of course, the discussion we had with Scott Walker as well. But yeah, there are several, and perhaps that, depending on the time from when closing is, Jim will act as a consultant. We're looking at perhaps that the only big leap that we would necessarily have is with our insurance for the most part, and with Jim still carrying on as a consultant, taking everything through until we do get the RFP available. So.
And that we wouldn't want to have to deal with. Not at all. As long as you got it covered.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Clarify something. He's going to consult 30 days after we close. How long do you anticipate that you're going to have another organization in there running it? Because my own opinion is he needs to be available when the new proprietors go in there to pick his brain. You follow what I'm saying? So, I don't know from a timing standpoint how that works.
Once the closing goes about, we will submit an RFP, perhaps even slightly earlier. Typically, RFPs go from anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 weeks, depending on the volume of what we receive. According to some of the RFP candidates, seem pretty good. There's going to be a significant amount of trial and error. That's just like anything else. I understand that there are even people who currently work for the Canoe Outpost perhaps will be putting in an RFP as well. Just like anything else, it's just going to be trial and error. Just like even with, baseball, if Babe Ruth decides to step down, another organization comes in, there's going to be trial and error. So.
This, and Jim on the deal. So my question is this: we close, the 30-day consulting starts. Pardon the deal, that doesn't seem, from our standpoint, the consulting, then we have nobody in there doing anything. They're still doing the business, right, until
Correct.
the RFP gets in there.
Correct.
But the actual consulting starts on the 30 days. But if we don't have the other people in there to run it, isn't that when the consulting would be at its peak, is when the new people come in, that they would want to be able to pick the brain of the prior owner for 30 years or whatever it's been? You follow what I'm saying?
I do.
And I'm asking Jim too.
Yes.
Clarification. I'm not trying to.
So let me clarify something. Damon kind of misspoke there a little bit. It's not at the time of closing we're going out for RFQ. It's going to be once we know the sales agreement's going through. If y'all agree well on this tonight, within the next 2 weeks, we'll get everything clarified. I believe Damon sent the RFQ to Mr. Wood already.
No,
Not yet?
RFP, no.
So it's supposed to be going to him for review, for just technical review to make sure we got everything in there we need before we put it out. While we're waiting for an actual closing date, while we're working, finishing up the financing, that RFQ will be out. And the hope is to have it back in front of the commission prior to, pre-closing to say, hey, this is who we think it should be. This is staff's recommendation. Let y'all pick who we're going to use for the company and simultaneously bring that company in as we're doing the closing.
Okay.
And then that 30-day consulting Jim will be available for, and it'd be seamless. The easy thing to do with this would be to buy it, shut it down, and then go through our process and everything else, which we're trying to avoid. We don't want that to happen. We want to keep continuous operation and continuous running to happen. So that's what we're feverishly trying to make happen.
Well, we're not shutting it down.
No, sir. No, not at all. That's the idea.
You're not shutting it down.
No.
And I only do that because I know him. Believe me, I don't want to.
So, yeah, so once we know the sales agreement and we're ready to move forward, we'll clean it up and get it
Maybe
out.
it's a moot point, what I'm
Yes.
saying is, but the 30-day consulting thing seems like that needs to coincide when the new proprietor comes in, so they have access to the actual knowledge of the individual who is there, as opposed to if you close 15 days soon, well, we only got 15 days now where he's going to be able to consult with them.
And I think we're far enough along with
Okay.
this that we can get it out in a timely manner.
Okay, and I think you'll work, but I just want to make, that's all.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Jim.
Yes, Mr. Wood.
I'd like to, I'll leave you guys hanging. Okay? 30 days.
Do we have any audience comments?
Or no hands on Zoom this time.
Nobody? All right, nobody here. Okay. Sound like we're all clear. So, at this point,
You got it right.
you just want us to agree?
You need a motion.
Yeah.
The motion, as I stated earlier, is what we need.
All
So
right.
moved.
State it again, just for the.
For record.
Yeah, for
For the
record
record,
purposes.
the motion is to authorize the mayor and the appropriate city officials to enter into the quadri-party agreement for the purchase and sale of conservation easement, real property, and business assets to be entered into between James A. and Sarah Jane Wood and Canoe Outpost of High Springs LLC, along with the city of High Springs, and also the Alachua Conservation Trust Incorporated.
Second.
All right. It has been properly moved and second that we proceed with our purchase at this time. Do we need individual votes, or is this just go ahead?
You can, it does not require a roll call vote, Madam Mayor.
Okay. So all those in favor respond with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All right, agreement carries.
And Madam Mayor, I have the agreement, so before you leave tonight, we've got that ready for you. I'll sign it, and then it'll have a place for Angela to sign off as well.
Okay. All right. Takes care of item number 1. Let's move on to item number 2. Discuss, consider, and act on awarding bid for the construction of a 12-inch water well number 3. Our Assistant City Manager.
So this is the long anticipated bid for well 3. We've been talking about this for quite some time. We went out in July for bid. We received 1 bid back. The bidder did meet all the requirements of the specifications, and the company is a local company by the name of SGS Contracting and Services. They're local to High Springs. They're actually local folks that grew up here, which is nice to see a local business come in. Seth is here if anybody has any questions for him. But they meet all the specifications. We feel that the appropriate response for this is to approve it, and so we can continue seeking financing, so I can bring it back to the commission hopefully by next meeting, and we can move forward.
All right. Commissioner, questions?
The single bid that came in, that was within the range that it was predicted by our consultants.
So initially, over a year ago, when we looked at doing this project, the original cost estimates were in the 200s to 300,000s with the cost of construction, some other things. When we went out for cost estimate prior to going out to bid, The estimate came in at 635,000. This bid came in at 667,000. So the engineering firm felt like it was an appropriate for the equipment and the scope of work being done.
What's the time frame?
So time frame from awardance is we're looking 5 months, I believe, for the wellhead to get here, just due to delay in parts and things like that. So, and I'm kind of speaking on Seth's behalf here, but I'd say probably 8 months to completion from once we order everything. 8 months to a year, depending on availability of parts. Pipe seems to be getting more available at this point in time, so that's a good thing. But the big hindrance on that's going to be the wellhead and any that we don't have any unforeseen issues.
Well, it's been something that we've been pursuing for a while, and we need it. So we greatly appreciate
Absolutely.
doing it, because it's not to sound whatever, but you got to have water.
Yes, sir.
And so it's one of those necessities. So we thank you.
Any other commissioner? Any audience comments?
You tell me how we're paying for it.
Finance, and then water rates will cover it.
They'll put it into it, right? When we do this, and
It'll go into the budget, yes, sir, and then it'll show the finance payments, and with the rate increases, which now we have the CPI and what the rates are going to be, it will cover the cost.
Okay.
Okay, nobody? Okay, nobody to speak, so we can entertain a motion on this.
I move that we accept the contract with SGS to put in the award for the bid for the construction of a 12-inch water well by SGS.
second.
All right, it has been properly moved and second that this agreement for the water well number 3 be approved. All those in favor respond with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries 5-0. All right, let's move to item number 3. Discuss, consider, and act on approval and agreement with the Alachua County School Board for the School Resource Officers Program.
So,
Chief Shepherd. Oh, all right, I'm sorry,
no,
Bruce.
you're good, you're good.
I'm sorry.
So this is our standard school resource contract that we've been doing for the last several years, with one addition. With the amount of students at the community school, we're adding another school resource officer, and I'll turn it over to Chief Shepherd to fill in all the other questions.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. As the Assistant City Manager has stated, the only difference is the second officer, which is a necessity. We reached out to the school board at the last minute and asked for that. The population, our student population, has exceeded 1,000 students at the school, so usually that requires 2 officers at the school. This is going to help us eliminate the problem if one of our officers are sick or training, because as it speaks right now, statutorily, we're required to have at least 1 officer at that school. And that means even if I have to come there and sit there, we have to have coverage. So this is going to help us with some manpower in that aspect. Take any questions?
Is there any specific training, Chief, that they have to do prior to, or will the new one incur that during the course of the school year to meet the requirement?
So contract stipulates that they have to be SRO certified, which is a 40-hour course through CJSDC. They also have to have instructor technique, and obviously we want them to be experienced officers. We've been fortunate to find 2 very experienced officers, one being from Gainesville who retired with 27 years, another officer who has been a school resource officer in South Florida. So he's currently going through our training, which is a 12-week course, which he may be short-term to do about 6 to 8 weeks, depending on his speed.
Any other questions? Nope. Okay. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I move we approve the agreement with the Alachua County School Board for the 2 school resource officers as presented.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that the agreement with the Alachua County School Board and the resource officers be approved. All those in favor respond with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries 5-0. Our next item is item number 4. Discuss, consider, and act on approving an agreement with the school board for First Christian Academy for school resource officer.
So pretty much the same deal as last year, same contract as last year, except this one has a little bit of an increase in it, if I'm not mistaken. One officer there, there's restrictions on that officer being there and things along those lines are not as strict, and I'll turn it over to Chief Shepherd.
Absolutely. This, as you know, this contract is a little different and price-wise. Mainly, I'll just give you a little historical background on that, mainly because a couple years ago, the sheriff's office in mid-year, or quite close to the school year, got the school board to pay an increase of $20,000 to the contract. So we were kind of behind on the First Christian Academy here. We have approached them, and we will continue to increase that contract for the next year to get close to the school contract. But this contract is a little bit different in terms of not being mandated to have an SRO there. Last year, our SRO that we previously had there, he became very ill, and he was out for quite some time. So we did not have to man that school as often.
Clarify for me, they're paying for the total salary for their SRO?
Correct.
We're not supplementing the city, they're paying it all?
Correct.
Okay, I misunderstood you, thank you.
You all clear?
Yep.
Audience comments? Nobody on Zoom? All right, I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve the agreement with School Board of First Christian Academy for School Resource Officer Program. Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that the agreement with the school board and First Christian Academy be approved. All those in favor respond with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Antoine. Okay, at this time, we will proceed to city attorney's report and update.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to introduce Kirsten Ballou. If you want to come up to the podium, I did warn her, we're in Newberry Monday, and I didn't warn her that she would be doing public speaking, but Kirsten has been our law clerk for about the last year, and we've recognized her talent, and she is set for the bar exam in July, and so she's waiting on the results. We're all keeping our fingers crossed for her, and she's planning, and we're planning to make a new addition to our group, and she's got an interest in local government law. One of the commissioners in Newberry said, "Blue, are you kin to a Georgia quarterback named Buck Blue?" And she said, "I don't even know what you're talking about." He said, that was well before your time. And I told you I was going to show you a video clip of that. It was one of the saddest moments in Gator history. I don't think I did that. So I'll do that tonight. But anyway, tell us a little bit about yourself, Kirsten.
Well, I suppose it's kind of hard to follow that introduction. Not much more about me. I grew up in Florida, and I'm really happy to be staying here. I'm so lucky to be working with Mr. Walker and his firm, and I feel very lucky to be working with all of you in the future, and hopefully I can be of assistance and of use to you. And please feel free to reach out to me with anything that you need.
All right, city manager.
So next week, just to make you aware, they're going to be doing the tie-ins for the water project up here on Highway 27. So there'll be some road closures and some construction going on there. That's what they're doing. Weather got them this week. We've been fighting the roads lately. I'm sure several of y'all have gotten complaints on roads outside of the normal complaints with the condition of them. We've been trying to keep up, but getting 2 to 3, 4 inches of rain every night. We're just fighting a losing battle. We're going as fast as we can. So everybody be patient with us. We know we're getting to them as quick as we can. CPI came in for the utility rates. I know there was some discussion on that on Tuesday night. So CPI for July is 0.5. That is what they're set at. I'll be sending them out. I got all the rates done today. I'll be sending them out to you guys at the beginning of the week. Outside of that, we've been really working on the canoe outpost feverishly, trying to get stuff finished up on it and just button up stuff with the third well. And that's all we got.
All right, do we have any announcements? Anybody? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Everybody up there. I had to see my buddy back, missed him. Everything, okay? Right. But anyway, my name's Bruce Borders, 21535 South 441 High Springs, Florida, 32463. And finally I come and I brought up about Sonny Tillman's birthday. It's gonna be Saturday, and wanted to know what y'all decided. Saturday's this 2 days from now. They gonna have a proclamation, or are they gonna have anything at the Civic Center, or what's gonna happen?
Not either.
Nothing that I'm aware of.
Sunny City decided not to honor this man that put High Springs on the map.
Or something to his birthday party to recognize him. I know it's kind of late. I know it's late.
Can we do that, Angela?
And see, but you have to, Bruce,
I don't know.
and then plus you have to give us something to write the proclamation saying, well, as Senator Tillman, blah, 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 blah. But we just can't say, Senator Tillman, happy birthday.
Well, I understand that. That's why I was here two weeks ago, a month ago, and I brought it up. I brought up about the Priest Theater, and while I'm up here,
Yeah, you did.
whatever that man says back there, good man, he put Watchway on the map. So if he says the canoe outpost is a good deal, I have to agree with him. But I'm a priest person. But, and I did go before the county commissioners, and looking at it, but it's a crying shame. Ms. Walker, in your practice over in Gainesville.
It is. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And they do a lot of getting historical money for Tallahassee, and they've got all kind of things. And I don't know of anything that they've done for High Springs, like that. So I'm not giving it up. I started talking to state representatives, state senators, and while I'm here, what was the purchase? Somebody said it cost $300,000 to buy it. What was the purchase?
To buy what?
Priest.
390?
390.
Yeah.
390?
It was 390, yeah.
Okay. What if some individual, somebody bought it and gave it to the city? Did the city take it?
I mean, it would agree on terms and condition and legal counsel's advice on that. But I mean, it would be a discussion.
Have-
But y'all are open for suggestions and stuff. Okay, well, when can they get something out about Sonny Tillman?
Red, you come see me Monday, and I'll go over a proclamation with you, and we'll work on getting something to the commission.
Okay.
That work?
That will work.
Okay, come see me Monday.
He's done a lot, for me, you know, and, I've known him since '62. And, he started, Sonny's Barbecue, and I just tell, every time I go up there, I say, well, I'm looking for the clown, you know, because they had signs up there. He's not a clown and all that. And another thing there, his wife is in bad health right now. I'd like something to be done, you know, before she passes away. She hardly gets out of home there, and daughters have to go up there. One stays there in the daytime, one stays at night with her and all that stuff. Thank y'all for what y'all doing, and I'm not mad at nobody, and I might get a canoe from you and ride down the river, okay? So anyway, y'all doing a good job. God, I'm glad to see you back.
Thank you, sir.
And all that. I'm very disappointed because I didn't have no stand-up or no preach when I come back there. But everybody was very nice and polite, and they told me, you know, that Grandpa used to say, money talks, and wait, leave it at that, y'all can figure it out.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.
Okay.
And our chief's doing a fine job too.
Yes, he is. Commissioner Ambrose.
I see some markings in front of the building for utilities. Does that mean the new sign is coming? Or is that something else that got marked up?
It's not from us that I'm aware of.
Okay.
So the new sign was supposed to be here on the 22nd of July.
Okay.
Just throwing that out there.
All right. I was hopeful that was that good news.
Probably some more GRU stuff coming through town.
Well, the GRU box does have the screw sticking up in the sidewalk right now, but anyway.
There was some discussion about some fiber between buildings, so that may be part of it. Eric was working on some stuff, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Nope, I'm headed tomorrow morning to Florida League of Cities. Looking forward to that experience. And that's all I have at the moment.
All right. Okay.
I got a couple of things here. We own a house, the city, on 184th Place and 230 Terrace. And everybody else to clean up their property. We need to clean up our property. The house is overgrown with vines. I mean, I say it's overgrown. It's overgrown.
That's the blue and white one, if I'm not mistaken. They
I
caught
think it
fire
may
a
be.
while back.
I don't think it's fire. But no, on the corner of 230 and 84th.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the vines done growed up.
All right.
That's it ended up belongs to the city. I wish we had sold that piece of property where we couldn't. So small, I guess. And potholes out there in Patricia Gardens. They're awful.
Yeah, we're everywhere with potholes right now, trying to keep
Yeah.
the cold patch in right this minute. We're fighting a downhill battle. And I've got one out with COVID, so we're playing catch up. We're even shorter now.
All right, that's all I have.
Vice Mayor. I don't have anything either. So, sound like there's.
Mayor, I'll add one thing. I did notice walking here the other day. It looks like the burnt out house down here by the Ace, they started that. It looks like they removed the asbestos siding the other day. So there's progress moving forward in that demolition.
Yes, they have a demo permit and they're working on it.
Okay, good.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, I was waiting.